Hey, Nerd Herd, Dynasty Nerds here, back again as we're getting ready to enter week 4 of the fantasy football season. We have so much to talk about in this episode. We've got some injuries.
We got Mike Williams.
And I have a guy that I'm trying to sell that Rich doesn't want to.
Well, guess what? I'm not buying. Who are these people? How much do we love Mike Williams? Let's find out.
Ready, set, hut, hut.
Welcome to the Dynasty Nerds Fantasy Football Podcast, where we discuss Dynasty strategy, rankings, and all things NFL. So get ready to geek out on fantasy football with your host, Rich Dotson.
And welcome to the Dynasty Nerds Fantasy Football Podcast. I'm your host, Rich Dotson, here with my fellow nerds, Matt O'Hara.
Hey.
And Garrett Price.
How's it going?
That's going okay. It's been a rough week out here in fantasy football. Condolences to a member of our community's family and his wife and his children. We lost a good one this past week to COVID, Mike Tagliere of the Fantasy Pros podcast. I was lucky enough to have Mike asked me to do his show one time, and I was lucky enough to talk to Mike for a couple hours and do his show. I think like 2 years ago, we lost him this past weekend to COVID after a little over a month and a half of struggling with that. So heartfelt condolences to literally one of the good guys in the community, a young guy, had a family, had a kid. He's got a GoFundMe up there on the Fantasy Pros page. You can find that if you got, if Mike ever helped you or you got any extra money, maybe your fantasy league money, whatever, you could send out to his family with his 2 young children and his wife. I'm sure they would appreciate that. And, it's hard to lose anybody at any time, but when you lose somebody young, it's even harder. And definitely went to a good person. And I didn't know Mike personally, but I knew from the outpour of mentions and people that I'm friends with about Mike that he was a great person. And my little interaction I had with him personally, he was a really good dude to me too. So our condolences from all of us.
Yeah, I had talked to him a couple times, and I didn't know him super well, but it's definitely devastating to see what has happened and just what his family must be going through. So I do think it's incredible how the fantasy community has rallied around them and supported them. But even thinking about, some of the guys on the show, I know Kyle Yates real well. He's a good friend of mine, and I know he's taking this really hard. And so, thoughts for him and the entire Fantasy Pros family. Yeah,
well said by both you guys. I don't have a lot to add on top of that. That wouldn't just be echoing the same things. I've heard nothing but great things about this guy. It's very scary when somebody that young, I guess, and in similar roles, I guess,
sure.
You see someone like this pass away. It brings a lot to light, you know what I mean? And I think the important thing is to, love the people in your family. And I think that's a great message to kind of get out in moments like this. But he will be missed by everyone that knew him. It sounded like he was an excellent guy. I didn't have any personal interactions with him, but it's a very difficult thing to, I guess, process for everyone. But let's, I guess, take it from here, I guess.
Yeah, and hopefully he wins the Scott Fish Bowl.
Yeah, that'd be awesome.
He's 3-0. Yep. So that's kind of sweet as well. And, hope he's, again, thoughts to his family. So
yes, absolutely. Thoughts to his family.
That being said, we are going to go into our show and talk some Dynasty fantasy football because we are the Dynasty Nerds. And that's what we do because we get all nerdy about Dynasty. Some people get all nerdy about Dungeons and Dragons. Some people get nerdy all about sewing. Not us. We like Dynasty fantasy football.
Oh, it's yeah. Be a very small group, I feel. Maybe probably not, actually.
No,
there's probably a big group. I just don't know that there's a lot of sewing podcasts.
No, but there's
necessarily
that you listen to.
Probably a lot of YouTube channels, I would think.
I could see YouTube. Yeah, that would probably be a better medium.
Cross stitch, double stitch, hopscotch stitch, all kinds of stitching going on over there.
You sound like maybe you've dabbled. Have you dabbled?
I wish I could sew. There times I've ripped something, I'm like, oh, this is going in the garbage because this is done for. Then you see these YouTube videos and you're like, oh, cross, zip, and you're like, oh, that's like a brand new thing. I mean, I'm gaining weight. I wish I could extend my pants. I don't know.
Zip, cross, zip. Now there's a zipper here.
Wrap
done and done.
Look at you over there, Mr. Zippity Doodah.
I spit my coffee out.
No, don't spill your coffee on that equipment. It's expensive. What kind of producer are you? Taking us down. Well, before getting these sweet Dynasty and sewing takes, let me tell you about our friends at Thrive Fantasy. I saw one of our friends on their site. They're host of one over $5,000 playing Thrive already. Oof. Yeah, look at these guys. Me? I haven't won jack squat yet. I'm losing. Now, when we talk about our other partner, I had that sweet prop bet for you, or the We'll wait till that ad comes along. Right now we're talking Thrive Fantasy. And people are winning at Thrive Fantasy. Me, I'm not doing so hot. But this week is my week to turn around. I promise you that.
Because you're losing, somebody else is winning. So
That's right.
Yeah, our friends over there have my money in their pocket, and dang it, I'm upset about it. Thrive, where's my money going? You want to know where I'm spending my money? It's at Thrive Fantasy. You can go prop up fantasy football this season with Thrive Fantasy. Thrive Fantasy is a daily fantasy sports and esports app for player props. What you do is you go on there, you get 20 players. They're like, hey, will this guy have over 100 yards or under 100 yards? Will Ben Roethlisberger fall down once or once over under? You taking an over or under how many times Ben Roethlisberger is going to fall down? Will Nick Chubb will Najee Harris get hit behind the line of scrimmage 150 times? Over under. I'm taking the over.
I'm taking the over
sure.
too on both of those, by the way.
So they give you 20 of these sweet props.
This is a lot of
and you take
Steelers
them.
hate.
There is.
Yeah, I got more of that coming. Is Juju Smith-Schuster still alive? You tell me, yes or no. Over under.
Over under life.
If it's under, it's 6 feet under.
Jeez.
So this is what Thrive can get you, right? So, and all these come with accumulation of points. Like the riskier you get, the more points you get. So, do you want that biscuit? You want a soggy? You want a firm? However you want it, they got it. And Thrive Fantasy is going to give you the opportunity. You pick 10 out of 20 props they got, and you get points assigned for. And then every time you get something, you get a point. You win cash. Like I said, I know people out here win $5,000. 20 of that dollars is mine. So
$20.
I got a few for you for Thursday night.
what is it? Give me a few.
So Trevor Lawrence completions over under 23.5.
Ooh.
Over,
That's a
under.
high amount, I think.
Who are they playing?
They're playing Cincinnati.
Cincy.
I will take the over.
I think I am too because I think they're going to be losing by quite a bit and needing to throw.
They're always going to be losing.
Joe
by quite a bit.
Mixon, rush TDs plus receiving TDs, 0.5 over under.
Oh, so
Over.
will they score? Over.
It's a bounce
definitely.
back week for
Will he
Joe
score?
Mixon.
This will be
Over.
a good week.
Look how easy it is to win this $5,000. Why are these so? I'm gonna start texting you guys make my Thrive picks for me. Right now they got a really good special offer. New users who deposit $10 get a free $15,000 Thursday night ticket or $15 Thursday night ticket. That's what Jared was just talking about. Those over-unders could be yours right now for free if you deposit $10. If you deposit $100, you get one free $15,000 Thursday night football ticket and two free 50,000 NFL tickets. Plus 100% of your instant first match deposit up to $250. That's their best offer of the year. You got to get on this. And all you got to do is use our promo code of nerds. That's what you got to do. It's that simple. Put in nerds, put in $250. They're giving you $500. $500. You enter $20. You pick those sweet overs. You take those two props we gave you. You win $5,000. You send me back my 20 because I deserve it. And then we're all friends. That's
There you
simple.
go.
And
Thrive Fantasy.
Just to correct you real quick, it's a $15,000 pool and a $50,000 pool. You said $15 ticket, so just wanted to clarify real
Oh,
quick.
well, sorry, I can't write and I read and talk.
It's all right. That's why we're here.
Download the Thrive Fantasy on the App Store or Play Store or by visiting their website, thrivefantasy.com. Sign up and prop up today. Now, we have injury news.
Oh,
All right.
we always have injury news.
It turns out Juju Smith-Schuster's still alive. So that's one we could cross off the list.
Are all of his ribs intact, though?
I don't know. Are they?
As of right now, it looks like he's questionable. So I'm guessing they're intact because if it was cracked ribs, he probably wouldn't be questionable.
No, dude, crack's bad for you anyway, so stay away from that.
Sure.
Christian McCrackfree, he's hurt. He's not on IR, so that's good.
I did think it was going to be an IR stint. When I saw that it wasn't, I was much more encouraged that maybe he'll just miss a week or two. But I know last year they talked about bringing him back too soon, and that didn't work out too well. So it does make me a little nervous still.
Yeah, when a player starts playing and all of a sudden they bring one leg up in the air and they're playing hopscotch all of a sudden, like that's not good. Like
It's not good.
worse.
I mean, nowadays, of course, Twitter gets ablaze on any one of these injuries. Everyone's over analyzing basically the footage of it and everything. I couldn't see anything other than him like pick up his leg, and everyone was making a big deal like there was almost like a
pop or
you could see
something,
like a
yeah.
popping in the hamstring. I never saw it, so I didn't really get that. But I'm not a
see
doctor.
a snapper or crackle.
For all I knew, it was a stutter step. I mean, who knows?
That's exactly what I'm like. I don't see it. Is he just trying to juke this guy in the open field? But apparently it was a hamstring. I guess we'll see the severity here going forward. Not on IR yet, but Chuba Hubbard, right? I mean, that's obviously the guy who is going to benefit the most from this kind of short-term injury, right?
I saw somebody got a 23 first for Chuba Hubbard.
Yeah. First and a third.
And that's pretty good because this is a guy that was going, middle of second, late second type of guy.
Right around there.
So that's
Got
that's
the
a
speed.
Nice, yeah, he definitely has
to
the
get it
speed.
I was underwhelmed watching him.
That's how I felt also.
Part of that is that offensive line isn't very good. It's just Christian McCaffrey's extremely special. So I think that's part of the issue there. But
He's not as smooth in the passing game either. So it's not. I mean, it's nowhere near like
he's
a
not
1
that
for
good
1.
of a pass blocker. So he got the touches. So it's a volume play.
Right.
But I don't expect half of the production that you got out of Christian McCaffrey.
No, Christian McCaffrey's a fantasy gold mine. He averages 30 points per game. Nobody's doing that.
That's why I said I'm not expecting half. So I'm not expecting 15 on average.
Oh, sorry, mathematician over there. Didn't know what was going on over here. Wow. But so Christian McCaffrey dynasty value. Does this injury open to you a buy window? Do you think somebody's now like, dude, is this begin the end of Christian McCaffrey? Like we talk about how many opportunities you had to be a running back one, and history shows us statistically that there's only so many running back windows out there, unless your name is LaShawn McCoy, right? So is this a window? Do you think a Christian McCaffrey owner right now who is dealing with, they don't know he's coming back, I know he's on IR, do you think this is some kind of buy window? And if it is, would you buy?
I think it's a buy window in the sense that you actually can get him. Now, I don't think the price has dropped at all, but it just went from like, yeah, I want 4 first, but I'm still not listening to you anyway, to like, yeah, I want 4 first, and maybe I'll actually take the 4 first now.
I wouldn't pay 3 first for Christian McCaffrey.
But that's the thing. I think the Christian McCaffrey, the person that has Christian McCaffrey, assuming they are a contender, is going to have no desire to sell him unless you really pony up and have a crazy good offer.
To be fair, today in a Superflex league, I traded 2 first and Chase Claypool for Alvin Kamara.
Yeah.
I need a running back.
And they're in a similar tier, but Christian McCaffrey's just better.
Better. Right. So
not this week he's not.
Not this week he's not.
Not last year he wasn't.
Well, not overall on a per game basis
Yeah,
he was.
all these analytic nerds are going to call that a trend.
An injury trend?
Yeah. You know where that's trending to? Down.
All right, so you should just give him away then.
I don't have him. I don't own, he's one of the players I have 0 shares of.
Well, then you can't.
I have 0 Christian McCaffrey shares. Not even in redraft leagues. I got 0.0.
I'm with you there, by the way. It's a bummer because he's ruling the land right now.
Yeah, but you're in 4 leagues. I'm in 23 leagues.
Yeah, that's true.
My odds are way
more than
worse.
4. I think I'm in 6.
Look at this guy.
It
Mr.
keeps
uppity uppity.
It keeps creeping.
I only have 2, so I don't have a ton of shares.
What's the most you would pay for Christian McCaffrey in Dynasty?
Are we assuming I'm a contender?
Well, yeah. Why would we? Yeah.
Just asking a
You're
question.
going to rebuild around this gimpy guy?
Sassy.
This gimpy messed up
the
hamstring?
most I would be willing to see. I would probably be willing to pay 3 firsts. I don't know that I could do more than that.
I think that's where I'm at also. I don't think when you said 4 firsts, I was like, in my eyes. I mean, that might
You're
be
mortgaging your entire. I mean, 3 is already mortgaging a lot of your future.
Yeah. To go all in.
All right, and
He's a winner. He's a league winner, though.
It could be the equivalent of that. So it could be like, J.K. Dobbins and a high first or something like that. Or he might not even be worth 2 to most people right now. But, a running back that's worth 2 firsts plus another first on top of that or something like that.
Dude, and what's good about this Carolina team right now, it's like a Pixar movie, man. It's just up. Sky's the limit.
Yeah.
It's looking good.
They're clicking. They got the quarterback in place. The wide receiver, the number 1 wide receiver is there.
Yeah, he is.
Guys, did you see
Came
that?
around.
I acknowledged.
Look at that.
Robbie Anderson is the. No, I'm just
Oh,
kidding.
I thought you were talking about
Moore.
Terrace Marshall.
There's a few trades that went down in our trade browser
Oh, for Christian McCaffrey?
yesterday. Yeah.
Give me the first 2.
Saquon straight up for Christian McCaffrey.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, that's.
I don't hate it.
You can't argue that.
This one's loaded here. Christian McCaffrey, Allen Robinson, a 23 second for A.J. Brown, a 24 second, 2024 first, 2023 first, and a 2022 first.
I can't even remember all you said. All I know is A.J. Brown's not even a wide receiver 3. So
A.J. Brown, 3 firsts for Christian McCaffrey, and Allen Robinson in a second.
I would take the A.J. Brown side.
Me too.
Yeah, me too. That seems like a lot. That's a big package right there.
It is.
Oh, thank you.
But it also depends
Oh,
on
you're
where
about
those
to trade.
firsts are.
Same.
So, if they're high first versus low first,
Oh.
changes it slightly.
And I'm your host, John Holmes. Next on the list, Dalvin Cook. He's got an ankle injury. You think he plays this week?
That one kind of surprised me. I hadn't heard a ton about that coming into the week, and then it felt like all of a sudden it was
He
like
was a scratch.
Yeah, it was like, oh yeah, he's not going to play today. So that was a little bit surprising. Alexander Madison played very, very well in his absence, which was kind of the only knock on him was he looks great while Dalvin Cook's out there, but when he's gotten the opportunity just to be the guy, he's just done okay. He played fantastic this week. He is going up against Cleveland this week, so we'll see how that goes. My guess is Dalvin Cook does end up playing this game, but with how well he played, I don't think that there's any rush to get Dalvin Cook back. They're going to want to make sure that he's 100% healthy and 100% good to go.
Very good. Yep.
Okay, and then A.J. Brown, he's got a hamstring injury. A.J. Brown, he's week to week. I mentioned before, he's not even a wide receiver 3.
He's having a rough start to the season for sure. I mean, you know,
like if it's sandpaper, it's what's the worst grit?
Like 40 grit.
Yeah, he's a 40 grit right now.
That's you're really getting in.
You thought I was a dog right there, didn't you?
Yeah,
I did.
Go on.
Obviously, you know, the offseason wasn't what he wanted. He had double knee surgeries, and really he's had drop issues, which is very
week 2 was
uncharacteristic
real bad with that.
Of AJ Brown rather. And then week 3 he pulls up lame with the hamstring. So I'm wondering if maybe he wasn't quite 100% to start the season at this point, and now the hamstring is kind of resulting, you know, maybe some overcompensation from having 2 knee surgeries, kind of just trying to get your body right, kind of in a rush.
And the total offense, too, was kind of out of sync with new coaching staff. Well, not new coaching staff, but new offensive coordinator. So you had all of those things together. It's not been good.
And another alpha male, you know what I mean?
Right,
in
yeah,
the wide
Julio
receiver
Jones
core,
coming in.
and it's in a lot of. There's just been a lot of, I guess, turnover from that standpoint. So, AJ Brown, I'm not worried about his future clearly, but he's going to be down for the next 3 or 4 weeks, and hopefully they take it slow with him. To be honest, it stinks if you have him on your team and you know you needed him to do well, but he wasn't doing well anyway.
No,
so shut him down for a little bit, get his body right. And hopefully, you know, for the second half of the season, he'll be able to get this thing back up and rolling.
Robert Gronkowski will be very proud. He's wide receiver 69 right now. I mean, Braxton Berrios has got more points than him. Darius Slayton's got more points than him. Freddie Swain's got more points than him from one single catch. Deontay Harris has got more points than him. It's been a rough year for A.J. Brown. Again, you know, Dynasty is all about windows. So we know A.J. Brown is now down for probably 3 to 4 weeks. We know he's had a really rough start. He's got no help. Is this a buy window for A.J. Brown?
Yes.
Are you putting some offers out there? Or are you saying, hey, 69er?
I definitely am.
2 first?
I would definitely give 2 first. I would have no problem doing
2
that.
first and a receiver that's maybe possibly like, so when you go, so the 2 first itself is, you know, it's probably not going to get done, but it's enticing, right? But this person is now down on wide receiver. Do you think it's an overpay? Because I kind of think it's overpay. Would you throw Brandon Cooks in 2 first at the owner of A.J. Brown? It's kind of an overpay. Brandon Cooks consistently gets 1,000 yards. Currently a top 6 fantasy football receiver. I would like more leaning the lines of like a Marquise Brown in 2 first.
Sure.
I think that would be a lot fairer. I was thinking if you had Brandon Cooks involved in that, I wouldn't say no to Brandon Cooks a first and maybe a second. You know what I mean?
Okay.
Something a little bit less than 2 firsts and Brandon Cooks. And I'm not even like a huge fan of Brandon Cooks, but he is having a good year, and it would be a nice, I think, piece to get back in return if you're a contender and AJ Brown's not going to be there for the next 3 or 4 weeks. That'd be a nice piece to go along with that first. I think is first and a second.
I'm with you. That was Brandon Cooks was one of the guy I picked in one of our sleeper episodes a few months back as a wide receiver sleeper that I just thought his ADP was too low. So I am a big fan of Brandon Cooks, but I still might do it if depending on the situation and depending on where those firsts are. If they're later first round picks and Brandon Cooks, as much as I think he's a talented receiver, we still have no clue what his future is going to be, whether it's in Houston. I mean, he's moved teams 4 times already. We have no idea what's going to be going on in Houston. So I think for a guy with that high of a ceiling, and I don't love the 22 class, so I think I might be willing to do that in the right situation.
All right, I'm going to flip the script on you guys for A.J. Brown owners because sometimes I like to make this maneuver when there's a receiver that I like a lot, any player that I like a lot, and I have another player that is viewed highly in the Dynasty community or in the fantasy community. But I view A.J. Brown as a top 5 Dynasty receiver, right? Mm-hmm. That's right. I view him as a top 5 guy. I'll look at guys that are outside of my top 5, closer to like 9, 10, 11, 12 that people like, and I'll try and make that move immediately. Like, hey, this is where my team is. I don't usually have a window to get A.J. Brown because I don't have the draft capital. I've already traded a lot of my draft capital, but I have this player that I would not rather have than A.J. Brown. Would you, Matt, give up DK Metcalf straight up for A.J. Brown? Right now, today. Like, I come to you, I'm like, hey, I'll give you DK Metcalf for A.J. Brown. You can pick anyone you want. Who are you taking?
And I'm a contender, obviously, so I'm. Is that the scenario? Like, I'm a contender and A.J. Brown just went down. Are you going to be able to flip DK Metcalf and A.J. Brown? Is that like the scenario that I'm looking at?
Either way.
Because I'm not going to do it if I'm not a contender. Like,
only if you're a contender.
Yeah, because
That's where I'm at too.
Only if I'm a contender, because I think you're getting the better asset is A.J. Brown, in my opinion, for the long term and everything. So I wouldn't just take the lesser asset for nothing, you know what I mean? Like, for no reason, unless I was going to be contending this year and I needed him for the next three or four weeks to stay in contention. That's the only
Keenan
reason.
Allen.
Keenan Allen. I don't think so. I mean, I think obviously he's going to score you more points than whatever replacement you have on your bench at this point, but same scenario. Like,
The point is, like, do you think you would take the point hit? Like, so obviously A.J. Brown's not doing anything for anyway, so he hasn't been a help. But my point is, like, are you willing to take that 3-week, 4-week hit on point production to get the player that you want, is what I'm saying. So, like, what I'm saying is, would you give up, even if you're a contender?
Would I give up Keenan Allen to get
A.J. Brown?
Yeah, absolutely.
So would you give up DK Metcalf to get A.J. Brown?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I'm sorry. I was looking at it from the other way.
I'm sorry. You know what I mean? So, like,
Yeah, that makes sense.
so sometimes you, when you're a contender, like, you're in a position to make a move to make your team even stronger later. And a lot of times, you know, these dynasty leagues are top heavy anyways. And if you lose one player in a true contender, obviously A.J. Brown wasn't helping you. You can usually, like, skate by, maybe not be the 1 seed, 2 seed, but maybe the 5th seed, 6th seed, right around
until
there.
it's healthy.
So what I'm saying is, like, this guy has A.J. Brown. A lot of teams think they're contenders. You have a player like DK Metcalf, Keenan Allen. Would you give them up now for A.J. Brown? Knowing that team that has A.J. Brown probably trying to compete, they want the points. You're giving them the points. You're taking the hit. Mm-hmm. That's the move I like to make. I like to sacrifice temporarily for the long-term
Agreed.
goal.
I was looking at it the complete opposite way.
Oh, no.
The way that you're saying it, yes, I would give DK
I could be
Metcalf.
confused at that time.
Yes,
So-
I would give Keenan Allen to get A.J. Brown back, and I would just deal with the consequences because you're getting the better asset.
And that's what I'm saying. Would you be willing to deal with those consequences no matter the situation? And that's what I meant by the situation, because I would. Chris Godwin?
I would give Godwin. I mean,
I think this is a short enough window that I think I'm always still taking A.J. Brown, whoever I would have been taking him above before. And if this was like an 8-week injury, then I might be like, okay, I'll take Chris Godwin because I'm a contending team. I got to make sure that my wide receiver 1 or 2 is still filled.
So I think the point of what I'm trying to point here is, like, I think it's a good window. Getting players like A.J. Brown of that caliber, right? Mm-hmm. Like, they're so hard to get. Even like if you want Terry McLaurin right now, like, they're so hard to get. Justin Jefferson, impossible. Like, CeeDee Lamb, good luck. You have to sacrifice the Lamb to even be to have a meeting. To have a meeting.
Going Old Testament.
So it's kind of one of those situations where, like, I think this is a window for that. Like, because a lot of times it's easy to say, hey, I'll give all this draft capital, but a lot of contending teams don't have their draft picks. Like, I literally just traded 2 years away just to get Alvin Kamara because my team's really strong. I just don't have a second running back. I have Jonathan Taylor. I want Alvin Kamara. So I gave him the 2 firsts. 1 pick I used, okay, well, that's Alvin Kamara. I just stuck with the late first, and now I had to give another first to get him. So easy peasy. And Chase Claypool, I mean, that team's not going anywhere anytime soon. Their future quarterback, who knows what it is? Because it ain't Ben Roethlisberger.
Did anybody see on Twitter the old-timey reel of just
of
Ben Roethlisberger's all his throws? It was just
like, this guy couldn't play in today's game.
that one had me rolling.
We mentioned Juju Smith-Schuster. He's got the ribs. KJ Hamler out for the year with a knee injury towards ACL, so he's out. Tim Patrick gets a bump. We mentioned him a couple times already in the show. I know Matt's going to go out in detail about Tim Patrick on the Nerd Herd show. Mm-hmm. Sterling Shepard, he's got a hamstring injury. He's questionable. Hey, Sterling Shepard, he's a top 24 fantasy football wide receiver right now.
Unbelievable.
I believe it.
Daniel Jones.
On the opposite side, Darius Slayton, he's got a hamstring as well.
Poor Giants. So, I mean, maybe by default, Kadarius Toney finally gets to play.
Does he? Or is it Colin Johnson?
They're like forcing the ball a little bit there. A little bit.
Evan Ingram.
There's EE coming back,
Dude,
right?
And then Kenny Galladay is...
Evan Ingram couldn't catch. There's a lot of things he couldn't catch.
Kevin, finish that sentence. Kenny
Yeah,
Galladay.
why did you bring up Evan Ingram, but then you rolled your eyes at Kenny Galladay?
Kenny Galladay is...
You should have rolled your eyes at Evan Ingram and then said Kenny Galladay.
You just like Kenny
off.
G.
You trailed off.
I don't think he's that great, but he's like the de facto number one. Like, he
is.
was paid to be the number one.
Sure. But you couldn't even finish your sentence. You just like trailed off. I just wanted to hear what you had to say.
Kenny Galladay. Then he starts playing the flute. No, KG plays the flute.
I think it's the sax.
Sax,
Clarinet.
I think it's the
KG does
saxophone.
not play a saxophone.
No?
No, he plays like the stick. He plays that stick with holes in it.
The jazz, the
Do you
jazz clarinet.
Do you guys think Colin
The jazz
Johnson,
flute?
people should go pick him up because he could be on a lot of waiver wires in dynasty leagues?
I mean, it's odd because he's the guy that got here, in September or something like that.
Yeah, he
into
got
the
cut by the Jags.
Right. And he's already more ready for the offense than Kadarius Toney, apparently.
I mean, he's worth a flyer, but I don't think he has any long-term value.
He's a big-bodied guy. I don't know.
So is
He had 10
Kenny
points.
Galladay. Like, the guy they paid
Yeah, no,
money
he did
to.
have 10 points, though. I
Yeah,
mean, he
quick
went
flip.
he went in there, and it might be worth it just to pick him up if you
worth
have
a stash.
Yeah, absolutely. And end of the roster type of guy just to see if he evolves and gets a role.
Colin Johnson, wide receiver, New York Giants. Pick him up and then leave him on your bench.
Yep.
James White, hip subluxation.
That's the second week in a row you've gotten to say that, isn't it?
What?
Subluxation?
Subluxation? Yeah,
You
dude,
can say
look at
it
me.
last week.
Who
My
had a
vocabulary is
subluxation?
There was somebody last week or 2
impeccable.
weeks ago.
I don't know, but he's out indefinitely.
Indubitably.
Indubitably.
Yeah.
So subluxation, is that did his hip pop out? Is that what that means?
Probably.
Ooh.
I don't know.
Oh, that sounds.
Man.
You say subluxation, and you make that kind of sound. I'm getting excited. Look at that. Woo! Woo! Dude, you change a U and put an L in there.
come on.
Relaxation.
Come on.
Ooh.
Finger popping each other's.
That hurts. That hurts because he was doing pretty well.
Yeah.
He was one of my buys. He was my sneaky starts.
He was an easy guy to start because obviously he was going to get the passing game stuff, but then he was also getting a little bit of work in the running game as well.
Ramondre Stevenson.
So obviously, I mean, they had Brandon Bolden, I think, kind of fill in because he knew the offense and they knew they could count on him in pass protection.
Sure.
One of these guys is going to have to step up, right? I mean, because Ramondre Stevenson, he had the fumble in week one.
And he's in the doghouse.
And Damian Harris has been in the doghouse because he's been pass blocking so poorly.
His snap percentage has gone down every single week.
So
so
is this-
poorly.
So this is like a J.J. Taylor, Ramondre Stevenson, kind of two-headed, let's see who can fill this void type of thing. And whoever I think does better in the pass pro will probably end up eking that one out.
J.J. Taylor seems like he should be the obvious replacement. I mean, they're basically the same type of player.
Right.
But he still hasn't seemed to really crack that regular lineup yet. We'll see if he gets the
Yeah,
opportunity.
over the last year, he hasn't. Like, he's always been a name that's been there that's just never
Missed
put
it by
together.
that much.
I think he got a rush and like a catch and something
Sure.
kind of mop up, type of stuff in this past game.
I like Ramondre Stevenson. That's just me. All right. Last guy, Elijah Moore, concussion. He's week to week. That's it for
He'll be
injuries. All right, Garrett. Next conversation.
Yeah, let's talk about some of the trending players. These are guys that we might not have necessarily expected. Well, some of us might not have expected to be stars or interesting players. I think these are all interesting players to talk about. The first one, we talked about the Carolina Panthers offense and how it's ascending, and that's been led by Sam Darnold. Sam Darnold has these guys undefeated so far, completing nearly 70% of his passes, 888 yards, 3 touchdowns, 1 interception. He also has 3 rushing touchdowns to boot. Is this real for Sam Darnold?
You think he's like a Pokemon?
Yes. That is my question. Will he evolve into a Blastoise?
So he's QB 11. I really like the weapons around him. I think he's done enough to get an extension here. I know they got a 5th-year option on him as well, but to me, this seems like it's a fit. The biggest only thing you have to worry about is Joe Brady leaving, and does that hinder him at all? Because
Sure.
Joe Brady is going to be a head coach in the NFL, and I would say Joe Brady's going to be a NFL head coach in the 2022 season. I would bet if I was on my bookie right now, I would bet
Chicago.
all of my money.
I could see it. Really,
Yeah.
the only thing that's holding him back is he's 32. That's really the only reason he hasn't
Didn't
gotten a
hold
job
Sean McVay back.
already. So but that's
He's
what I'm
gonna be a
saying.
head
That's,
coach. He's
that's
gonna
why
be a
he
head
hasn't
coach next year.
That's why he's not a head coach right now. If he was 40 this year, he would have already been a head coach. So that's really the only thing I think that's holding people back is like, well, we have like 8 players on our team older than him. So I think that's really the only reason he's not. But I agree with you. I think he will be next year.
Yeah, so but no matter what Matt rules there, he has the offense in place. Right. He's got DJ Moore. He'll be extended. He's got Terrace Marshall. He's got Christian McCaffrey. He's got Robbie Anderson. And he's just getting it done. He's kind of going that Ryan Tannehill route, right?
Yep.
Like keeping it short, keeping it sweet. Get it done with his leg.
Get away from Adam Gase.
Get away from Adam Gase.
Get away from Adam Gase. what a wow! I played that one up to a T.
Yeah.
So to me, I don't know about like QB 11 consistently, but these weapons around him in this offense, like he's still looking at low end QB 1, high end QB 2, which you could have bought Sam Darnold 5 months ago for a second round pick. It's crazy.
So in Superflex,
like a high range
in one
Superflex.
QB league, I mean, you probably could have gotten 5 months ago for a 4th round pick
or a sandwich.
Yeah,
which, who doesn't like
or
a
even
good
less
sandwich? So I think it's real. I think this is it. I think. Listen, he came into this league at 20 years old. He was super young. He's still super young. He had the albatross Adam Gase hanging around him, and that's literally the plague. Like, he is the plague of the NFL. He's the plague of the fantasy players. I went and ran him out last week because he's when you say Turd Ferguson, like capital T, capital F for Adam Gase. He's Mr. TF, okay? That's where he will never coach Little League again. Like, I wouldn't let my kids around Adam Gase. He'd ruin them. I'm like, this kid could have been somebody. Now look at him. He's nobody. Took my last name from him. That's how much of a nobody he is. So to me, I think Sam Darnold is in a really good spot to be. If there's any buy-in window on Sam Darnold, my answer would be I am buying. I like what I've seen, what he's doing, the decisions he's making. He's going through his progressions. I like what he's doing with his legs, an absolute ton. I mean, going into that game after Thursday, he was leading the league in rushing touchdowns.
That's what I was going to ask you about. Is it a little fluky that he's QB 11 or whatever right now, and he's got 3 rushing touchdowns already? I mean, like, you can't expect that to kind of continue, I don't think, right? I mean,
possibly, but I would assume that he would have more passing touchdowns as well. Like, 3 is a pretty low number through 3 games for any NFL quarterback that's halfway decent. So I would say that'll probably the rushing touchdowns will regress. I don't know that he'll have more than 3 more the rest of the entire season. But I think he'll have enough passing volume, enough passing touchdowns to sustain that, because he actually is up there with one of the highest he's top 10 in the league in passing yards. So I think he's been a little bit unlucky as far as the passing touchdowns have gone.
He's got big play. It's not like he just has possession receivers at his fingertips. Right. He's got big play receivers. I mean, DJ Moore with the ball in his hands is a weapon.
Yep.
Terrace Marshall can take the top off of defense.
Robbie Anderson can score at any point.
He hasn't done anything.
Yeah.
He hasn't done anything. So I'm buying Sam Darnold.
All right. Matt, this is going back to you. And yes, Rich, we know you liked him as well.
Thank you.
But Matt, Mike Williams is...
Oh, what was that big bang on the wood under the table?
Oh, hey.
Keep your pants on,
Did somebody say Mike Williams? I zoned out for a second.
Yeah, Mike Williams, wide receiver 2 right now. 31 targets, 22 receptions, 295 yards, 4 touchdowns. How high is too high to have him in your dynasty rankings right now?
I mean, I was previously mocked several times
for having him top 10.
For having him as a top 10, but maybe
somebody emailed us once saying, I think there's something wrong with Matt's rankings. He has maybe Mike Williams too high. And I texted Matt. I was like, somebody said you got Mike Williams. That something's wrong with your rankings because of Mike Williams. And Matt wrote back, I have him exactly where I want him.
That was my response. But over time, I did get chipped away at, and he eventually started dropping in my ranks, much to my chagrin. But now I think it's justified that he would be up near the top 10. Probably not. I can't think of where he should be exactly off the top of my head, but
top 15?
In the top 15 for sure. Yeah.
All right, let's do a little bit of like a name game with some guys that would be like around that range, and tell me who you would rather have.
Let me play my game first.
All right, you play your game. I didn't know.
Let me play my game
you
first.
You do your game.
I mean, Josh Gordon's back in the league, so this could get pretty high.
Oh, my God. So right now he's tied for 6th in the NFL in targets with 31 through 3 games. He's second to Keenan Allen in red zone targets with 8. He's tied for 1st in end zone targets, 4. Yards per reception is down from previous years, but up from last week. He's up to 13.41. He's on pace right now for 175 targets, 125 receptions, 1,672 yards, and 23 touchdowns.
That sounds pretty good.
23 touchdowns.
I mean, that doesn't sound realistic, but it sounds good.
He's averaging 25.83 points per game in PPR. Last year's number 1 wide receiver, Devontae Adams, averaged 25.6 and was the wide receiver 1 by over 30 points, and he missed 2 games.
Damn, son, in your face.
So that's what he's messing around with right now. And if he keeps on this pace, he's going to be far and away the wide receiver 1.
All right, here we go. T. Higgins or Mike Williams?
Mike Williams.
Yeah, Mike Williams.
Okay.
For me.
For me, too.
Devonta Smith or Mike Williams?
Mike Williams, just too much upside.
Yeah. And here's why. Before we go on, I'm going to tell you why I'm going to take Mike Williams out of a lot of this. Mike Williams looks.
I disagree, by the way. But.
So they've been. Mike Williams before has been that big play, big stretch receiver, the big body receiver. I absolutely love what Lombardi's doing with him. A lot of things short, in the flat, quick slants. He's using that big body to get in the inside of these receivers, and he's dominating with it. So, like you mentioned, his ADOT's lower because they're using him this way. Yep. And not only is it producing for a mass amount of fantasy points, but it's really producing for the LA Chargers as well. I think this is a player they're going to lock up long term. They're already paying him $15 million now. Sure. I don't think that gets away. Now they have Herbert on his 5-year deal, so they can front load a lot of that. Let the Keenan Allen deal will fall off by the time he comes down. I absolutely love that. We mentioned before, Lombardi planned on using him extra so that they use Michael Thomas, and they're using him just like that. A lot of short stuff. I love the way even his route running looks good doing it. These short intermediate routes, use them in the flat, crisp, quick slants, sluggos back out to the sideline, and he's dominating. So
and he still has all the above the rim stuff that he was known for when it was 20 yards down the field and he was going up over guys. So he's got a lot of weapons in his bag, and he's a very unique guy from just a physical standpoint in today's game, especially. I mean, there's not a lot of guys that are 6'4", 225 pounds.
And the only thing I'm going to be worried about is that next year he's going to be 28. So you do got to.
And he's a free agent potentially.
I'm not worried about it. I think he goes back to a one last deal in LA. So the only thing that's going to change my mind on some of these players is going to be the youth opportunity. So when it comes to Devontae Smith, I love Devontae Smith, but I'm really worried about
his next 3 years there in Philadelphia.
I'm worried about the quarterback situation there in Philly. I'm going to talk about more of that in the Nerd Show.
Okay.
But I would lean, if I'm a contender, Mike Williams right now.
I'm going Devonta Smith either way. But Jamar Chase or Mike Williams?
Jamar Chase.
Jamar Chase.
Yeah.
I can't even say that.
Jamar Chase.
I can't even go
that Joe Burrow connection looks absolutely fantastic. He's dominating. He's looking good doing it.
He's looking how I thought Mike Williams was going to look right out of the gate.
Yeah. I mean, dude,
to be honest, you know what I mean? Like, that's what I envisioned Mike Williams doing when he came into the NFL. He's doing it right away.
The Cincy offense, if they could bolster up the offense line anymore, it's a threat. I mean, it's in a situation where Jamar Chase is going to Joe Burrow, literally saying, hey, just throw it up to me. I'm going to come down with it. It's already 3 weeks in the season. We're at that pace. Like Jamar Chase to the moon. And this is somebody who had Devontae Smith as their wide receiver 1. Like, you're talking about somebody somebody that's going to go skyrocket. And it's more.
Oh, yeah, he's looking great.
Again, in the NFL, it's not always about just the player. It's about where the player goes, the system that they're in, who they're quarterbacking. It's very important. We mentioned this many times about Alvin Kamara. Was he the best running back in the league? No, but he's in the best system that could possibly be in for fantasy production. Jamar Chase is in this situation. The Bengals, I think, are a real threat. I took the Bengals money line versus Steelers this week. That's how confident I was in them. I think Jamar Chase, to the moon. If I had to redraft my rookies right now, I would take Chase over Devontae Smith easily.
All right, let me list off a couple more names. I'm assuming he won't be ahead of any of these guys since it wasn't above Chase. They're all in kind of a similar tier.
You don't know how high I'm moving Chase up. So ask me if I'd rather have A.J. Brown or Jamar Chase right now.
Would you rather have A.J. Brown or Jamar Chase?
I would.
Which one?
Jamar Chase.
All right.
I want that Joe Burrow. I want the Joe Burrow.
That wasn't an I would question. That was would you rather have this guy or that guy?
I would.
Well, I would. You would. I got would talking about it. I mean, dude, Jamar, it's about that combo that I love.
But the question was originally about Mike Williams, though.
Yeah, but I'm talking about Jamar Chase.
Okay.
Over
the last couple players, real quick.
Sucker.
The last couple players, real quick. That will all be in that similar tier. Cooper Kupp, Keenan Allen, DJ Moore, Amari Cooper. Would you want Mike Williams above any of those guys?
I would rather have DJ Moore for sure.
Keenan Allen, Cooper Kupp, Amari Cooper, Chris Godwin.
I'd rather have Mike Williams and Cooper. They're about the same age. And dude, the Rams are the truth with Matt Stafford.
It is
truth. They're the team
and they get breakfast together, so I mean that's a done deal.
I would probably take, just because of that combo together, I would probably take Cooper Kupp.
That one's real close, real hard.
And Amari Cooper's hard too.
Amari Cooper, I think I would.
I'll take Amari Cooper.
I think
I would
take
take Cooper Kupp.
I think Amari and Amari.
Cooper.
Cooper and Cooper.
Amari. I think Williams over Cooper for me, and Williams over Keenan for me.
I would take Mike Williams over Keenan Allen. Him and Cooper Kupp they're really close.
Very close.
They're same. That's the thing. He has Matt Stafford. He's got Justin Herbert. So it's really close.
DJ Moore, Godwin.
If Mike Williams signed an extension right now, I would take
probably
Williams.
over. I would probably take DJ Moore.
So you have him close to a top 12 guy. You're like right around 13, 14.
I bet I'm right around for Mike Williams, right around wide receiver 15, which is really good to tie in wide receiver 2 that I'm looking at. Like for my team that I'm drafting, when you draft him as your wide receiver 4. I mean, I got him in the Scott Fishbowl as my wide receiver 4.
I'm closer to like low end wide receiver. I'm more like wide receiver 23 or so.
Sure.
So
okay, well, I like him.
Well, I'll be adjusting my rankings accordingly this week.
Yeah, I got to update my rankings tomorrow. Look for that at dynastynerds.com.
Yeah.
All right, well, let's get back to some of these trending player discussions. I do want to talk real quick about the Detroit Lions backfield because right now they currently have 2 running back ones.
So do the Browns.
DeAndre Swift, RB3.
Anything Detroit can do, Cleveland can do
better. DeAndre Swift, 33 attempts, 133 yards, a touchdown. But on top of that, also 23 targets, 19 receptions, 166 yards, and a touchdown. And then Jamaal Williams, surprisingly, is in at RB9 right now at 121 yards, 2 rushing touchdowns, no receiving touchdowns, but has 13 receptions on 14 targets for 93 yards. So both are being used in the running game and the receiving game. Now,
when you have no receivers, it's pretty damn easy to do.
Well, and I think that's the part that I want to discuss. How much long-term viability is there with this? Because as much as we wanted Williams or Amon-Ra or Cephas or any of those guys, so far it's been like whatever's week it is, it will be one of those guys. But consistently we see both of these running backs involved in it. Typically Hawkinson as well. He had a down week this week, but both of these running backs are heavily used. Do we think that continues throughout the season?
I think, Dan Campbell, the head coach, brought a mentality, and it's to,
a mentality.
A mentality. He's going to bite some kneecaps.
That's right.
Stuff like that. And both these guys are succeeding, and I think that's probably giving them their best avenue for a W. You know what I mean? That's how they're going to have to win. So I think it's going to. I personally think it's going to continue. They don't really have any other stars jumping out, I think, off the bench or anything like that. So DeAndre Swift. I mean, did you see the open field missed tackles he was forcing? I mean,
he looks good.
Same stuff he did at Georgia. Yeah. I have a public service announcement to future Rich. I do this every year. I do this every single year, and I'm not alone here. I'm not the only one that does this. We all fall guilty of this. The damn NFL draft comes along. We put months and months into our film study, and we rank these players. And we do it every single year, and we're like, this is how we rank them. And then the good old end of April rolls around, and Roger Goodell comes out there and gets booed to no tomorrow, and these players get drafted. And all of a sudden, we're like, ooh, Clyde Edwards-Helaire on Kansas City. Ooh, Jonathan Taylor on the Colts. This is a good path. DeAndre Swift to the Lions, a little weedy out there. I know he was my number 1 running back going into this on film study. I'm going to bump him down a little bit. Enough's enough. I do it every year, and every year I do it, I tell myself, don't do that anymore, Rich. You're being a dumbass, and you're going to go out here and draft Clyde Edwards-Helaire over DeAndre Swift, even though the film tells you DeAndre Swift's a better running back. Here we are, a little over 12 months later. Who's the better running back?
It's DeAndre Swift.
Who's running back 3 on the year?
DeAndre Swift.
Who's going to finish as top 6 fantasy running back on the season?
Christian McCaffrey.
DeAndre Swift. Why? Because he's dominant with the ball in his hands with the line pass scrimmage, because the way he makes defenders miss. He flashes his leg out to the right side. He jukes these guys left and right, just like he did in college. He's a stud muffin. So to answer your question, yes, it will continue. on both running backs.
I was going to say, Jamaal Williams, I think, is the more questionable.
I can see Jamaal Williams falling out as a running back 1, but he'll hold value at least as a high end, the mid range running back 2.
And he's the more grinder, you know. And
I will say he was another
Your favorite website too.
He was another one of my offseason buys. I hit on a lot of those guys this year. He was one that I had talked about. Brandon Cooks was one I talked about. I feel pretty good about my offseason buys so far. Just saying.
Yeah, who didn't like DeAndre Swift in the offseason?
I said Jamaal
Williams.
I'm saying DeAndre Swift. That was my offseason buy. Yeah, bust those balls on that one, Crystal.
And mine was Mike Williams.
Well, there you go.
For 5 years.
For
straight.
always.
Just like
forever.
Who else you got to talk about?
We got 2 more guys here real quick. Najee Harris right now is a really, really interesting topic of conversation because he's currently the RB6.
Let's talk about this.
However, he does not have a single rushing touchdown, only 123 yards on 40 attempts, but it is in the passing game where specifically this week he had 19 targets. 27 overall in the season, 20 receptions, 149 yards, and a touchdown. Where are we at with Najee Harris? And maybe even a larger question. I know that we don't love the Steelers, but I think that plays a role in part of this conversation.
Yeah, Najee Harris was my running back 1 on this rookie class. He's my number 1 rookie overall because he was the best running back. He's running back 6 overall right now. And right now, unfortunately, like what he is, he's going to be exactly now that Saquon Barkley is getting healthy, he's going to be like a Saquon Barkley, pretty talented runner, but can't do anything because of a really bad offensive line. The offensive line has more holes in it than these young kids' genes right now. It's ridiculous. So to me,
these whippersnappers.
These whippersnappers out here dragging
these
their
millennials.
knees. Yeah, I'm like, oh, that person's on their knees a lot. I'm like, no, that's just a new way to go, Grandpa. I'm like, okay. But there's no running back in the league right now that's been hit at the line of scrimmage or behind the line of scrimmage more than Najee Harris. He's just not getting done on the ground because there's no opportunity to get done on the ground.
3, 1, 2, 3 yards a carry.
Terrible.
Wow.
So, to me, it's a situation where like he's going to live and die in the PPR game.
Yeah,
and that's it. It's a good place to live because these guys score high end points. So I think he's got to suffer for the next 2 years probably.
He also leads the NFL in percentage of carries. He's got he's in on 90
snap percentage.
96% of his the plays.
And I think that's for me why this actually looks like a possible selling window for me. I almost put him in as my sell because right now I honestly do not think Najee Harris's value will ever be higher. What running back ever gets 19 targets in a game? Like that's crazy for a receiver to get 19 targets.
Christian McCaffrey.
So running backs typically, I was going to say, I don't even think he's ever had 19 targets in a game. 14 receptions. Everything is predicated mostly on this one game and has boosted him to the RB6. I don't think he's going to be able to run the ball well there. At some point, you do want to get other guys at least in for plays, even if they're not running the ball. He's got a crazy high snap percentage. He's not going to continue this target percentage. And it's borderline entire rebuild mode right now.
Finger waving?
I'm saying Najee Harris his value will never be higher than it is right now.
Disagree.
Bad take.
Equal to.
It's a great
terrible take. Terrible take. So bad I thought about kicking you off the podcast.
Do you really think he will have a game where he has more than 14 receptions?
I don't care about the receptions. I care about the points.
You do care about the receptions. That's the thing you care about the most. That's what you just talked about.
If he doesn't have 14 receptions, but he has 2 touchdowns, whoopsie daisy.
He doesn't have any in the rushing game.
Today, we're 3 games into the season. Listen here what's going to happen.
We're 3 games into the season. He has 0.
Ben Roethlisberger is 37% deceased, okay? Like, he's out the window. I'm not worried about it, okay? He's gone next year.
Is he 37? How old is Big Ben?
I think he's actually
39.
Like
39.
Yeah.
Okay.
Juju Smith-Schuster, he's going to take his ribs, his coleslaw, his everything he's got. He's going.
By the way, he did this in a game with Juju hurt and missing, and also Deontay Johnson gone.
Good, you're helping my cause. He's gone.
So he'll get less targets.
Ben's gone. Dude, I never interrupt you ever. He's gone. Juju's gone. This team knows 100% they got to bolster this offensive line because it's terrible. It's worse than terrible. It's one of the worst offensive lines of all time. The center gets pushed back more than I don't even know what gets pushed back a lot, but I wish I had something to bounce off that.
Something clever, yeah.
Yeah, but it gets pushed back a lot. So, what'd you say?
Something clever.
Yeah, I'm not that clever.
It's
terrible. So it's terrible. So next year, they're going to have a new quarterback, maybe a rookie, maybe not, somebody young, inexperienced. They're going to have less wide receivers. Pat Freiermuth will be a little bit better, and they're going to have a better offensive line. They're going to rely more on Najee Harris. The young quarterback's going to dump the ball off because it's going to be the same system than Najee Harris, and he's going to get more carries, and he's going to have a better offensive line. I think his value could only go up.
So you think he's going to be better than RB6?
Garrett, it's week 3 of the season.
Yes, we have to make these decisions, Rich.
You think the Dynasty community right now, like, oh, he's running back 6, this is peak value. I think he will be higher than running back 6 at some point later.
And at one life?
At some point later.
I don't know.
To finish the season.
Maybe week 2 next year.
Okay.
I'm kind of divided.
We're talking 7 days difference here. What's the big difference?
Here's the deal.
I'm talking
God created the world in 7 days. You can't get a little bit more points to be running back 5?
Is Najee Harris God?
I think that
some people he is.
Oh my gosh. I think Najee Harris this year will not finish as high as he is right now. So from that standpoint,
me too.
I think he does have
Okay.
he's definitely in for I think a downward trend going forward this year. But I there's definitely plenty of room for both of your theories to be correct.
That's like saying, buy AJ Brown for pennies. He's wide receiver 69. Flip it both ways. It's the same and tastes the same.
But I do think he's got plenty of wide receiver or running back 1 upside going forward, because I think their plan moving forward is to have a 1-back system, and I think he is that back. I agree. I don't think he's ever going to be a 96%, of the offensive plays. He's not going to be in on that many, but I think he's going to be a 75% of the plays. He's
sure, absolutely.
And I said his pass catching ability made him my running back number 1 overall too. So in your face,
Rich.
In your face.
But these guys just want Javonte Williams to be better than Najee so bad.
Javonte Williams is even better than Melvin Gordon right now.
All right. Something else we're all in on is PredictionStrike.com. Do you ever wish you had a stock in a guy, maybe like Brian Edwards? I know our friend Jared over there had a bunch of Brian Edwards stock, and that's looking wonderful over at PredictionStrike.com. It is the only place where you can buy, sell, hold shares of players just like you would the stock market. Best of all, they have this wonderful app. You can do everything from your phone. And if you sign up now with the promo code Dynasty, you receive a free share of any player with your first deposit of $20 or more. That's promo code Dynasty to receive a free share with your first deposit of $20 or more over at PredictionStrike.com.
I believe Brian Edwards leads the whole NFL in fourth quarter and overtime receiving yards, right?
I'm up 47% on Brian Edwards on Prediction Strike.
Nice.
I know TJ Hawkinson, another guy we hyped up for Prediction Strike, is up a lot too.
Remember when we hyped up Sam Darnold?
Hey, that's right.
He's up 23% for me.
Dude, between Thrive and Prediction Strike, we're going to be going on a space trip any day now. We're gonna be some people are free falling. We're gonna be free flowing.
Yeah, you're
sitting there, all this cash floating over pockets.
Like, how much are those tickets?
Those Marquez Callaway shares are down.
Yeah, you win some, you lose some.
60% of the time, it works every time.
Dude, hey, when you're up so much, it's okay to take a little losses like that. The investment was so small.
You made a nice catch this past weekend. You never know.
You got a touchdown.
Lucky.
Yep.
Now, what are we going to get at? What notes are we getting out here? Garrett, I know you had a couple things you want to talk about before we leave, and we're about to leave.
Here's my problem, Rich. I always have so much that I want to talk. There's so much fantasy goodness, but that's why we have 2 shows.
Yeah.
So we can talk about more things in the other show.
Yes.
But I do really want to talk about these rookie quarterbacks right now, because so far it has not looked good. Now it's been 3 weeks.
Prediction Strike. Buy them all.
Buy them all. Right now, here's what we're looking at. We're looking at Trevor Lawrence, 0-3 as a starter. Not a surprise. It's the Jacksonville Jaguars.
Terrible.
Not even completing 55% of his passes. 669 yards, 5 touchdowns, 7 interceptions. Not running as much as we would have expected either. Only 9 attempts for 46 yards. Zach Wilson, we know that he's doing pretty terrible, just slightly over 55%. Only 2 touchdowns, 7 interceptions.
But to be fair, 5 came in one game.
That's true. So
to be fair,
he was worse in that game than he was his other bad games. 4 attempts for 21 yards. Justin Fields only has 1 start, but it was historically bad against the Cleveland Browns. Total, he has 138 yards, no touchdowns, only one interception. But he also doesn't have a ton of rushing yards. 14 attempts, 46 yards. And then Mac Jones, who's the best of the bunch, he only has 2 touchdowns and 3 interceptions. So he's just not pushing the ball down the field. He is throwing a higher percentage at 67.5%, and he is 1-2 as a starter. We don't know anything about Trey Lance yet. He's only getting spot, plays here and there. But right now, we had hyped this class, me specifically, as one of the best quarterback classes we had seen in a while.
This is your fault.
It's my fault. Where do we feel like we're at with these quarterbacks 3 weeks in?
Okay. First of all, it's only 3 weeks in.
It is only 3 weeks in.
So
It is.
I'm not flipping out any reason whatsoever. Trevor Lawrence, probably the biggest concern. He was supposed to be the second coming of Rich Dotson, which is something absolutely
It's tough
stunningly
to attain,
amazing, which is very tough to attain, but he was supposed to attain it. Could Urban Meyer be the new Adam Gase? I don't know, but it's possible.
It is possible.
Very concerned. More concerned about some of the decisions he's making out there. Like, he's making some bad decisions, making some bad throws.
He's tied for first right now in the league with Ben Roethlisberger in throwing interceptable passes. Yeah. So he's at 17.
And we all know Ben Roethlisberger's 39% dead.
Wait, did he just add 2%?
2%. He did. Dude, I mean, you don't.
He's dying quickly.
This isn't a zombie apocalypse. You just don't become more undead. You get more dead. Yeah, so I'm concerned.
The next closest rookie is Zach Wilson with 8, by the way.
Yeah. So listen, these guys, like, sometimes you see a guy like Justin Herbert, like, oh, well, Justin Herbert did well. Well, Justin Herbert went to the Chargers. They're a fantastic team. A lot of these teams go these really bad. These quarterbacks go they're high picks because they're on the really bad teams. These teams were horrendously bad. The Jets, very bad.
They're still dealing with an Adam Gase hangover.
I will say,
Jacksonville, horrendously bad.
Yes.
I will say Joe Burrow went to a really bad team last year, and he looked good right away.
But he had good weapons.
He did.
They dismantled the Jacksonville Jaguars. Do you remember that last year? They were just picking them apart. They're trading away all their parts. They were cutting guys.
Browns got Ronnie Harrison for a
fifth, I think.
Fifth round
Yeah,
pick.
I think it was a fifth round draft.
He was a third round pick. Yeah, they're literally selling pieces to the lowest bidder.
So that's the only bidder.
You give me a first nod, I'd rather take this third.
Look at you.
So yeah, that's an epically bad team. So it is going to take them a little bit, I think, to get that kind of that ship going in the right direction. They did just trade for Dan Arnold. I know we haven't mentioned that, so I just figured I'd throw that out there.
Tommy Tremble, Matt Rule's talking
good.
about pretty big time too. Tommy Tremble.
Yeah,
That's Carolina tight end, rookie, coming out of Notre Dame.
That was
a
one
block tight end, but had some good chops.
I almost put Dan Arnold as a buy. I was trying to figure out that whole situation, kind of see who was a buy, who was a sell. But he's going to a new team. I'm not sure. I think they're going to try to target the tight end. I think that's why they're going after Dan Arnold. But then I was like, hey, do we put Tommy Tremble as a buy? But he's a rookie tight end, so I don't really think he is. You know what I mean? He's going to take some time to kind of develop and get into.
If you're in a shallow draft class, or maybe a dynasty that doesn't have taxi squads, for example, you definitely want to check your waiver wire for Tommy Tremble.
Absolutely.
Zach Wilson. I'm again. Rookie quarterback. I'm not on the Jets. I'm not overly worried. Defensive-minded head coach. I'm not overly worried about him yet, too. Justin Fields, not worried at all because Matt Nagy won't be there next year. He had a terrible game plan.
Matt Nagy might not be there after next week.
Might not be there for next week.
I thought he might have lost his job after this because the game plan that they had put together,
they didn't roll him out once,
was embarrassing. They had 5-man protection almost every single play. They really did not set him up to succeed.
You literally had a dinosaur trying to block Myles Garrett. Like, this guy's old. Like, this guy came out of the Brea Tar Pits. Like, it wouldn't shock me. I mean, Jason Peters old. You know,
Jason Peters. I believe he was playing guard last year because I
maybe
think so.
I know, either way, he's 39.
Right, he's really old,
and he was semi-retired.
Yeah.
And Justin Fields, like, a lot of concern. I had Zach Wilson, my number 2 rookie quarterback, because when I watched Justin Fields, I was concerned about some of his decision making. I was just concerned about how he acted under pressure a little bit, and he did he had no chance. Like, he's not.
We didn't even get to evaluate it.
Listen, for the most part, we see a lot of these quarterbacks come in and they find success. The new day NFL is like, what do you got for me lately? The fact is, a lot of these quarterbacks should be sitting and learning. It takes time to move your game to the NFL. It's not that simple to just come in and have a good game. Of course, there's outliers and people that get it done, but people take time. Peyton Manning's rookie year, threw like 29 interceptions. You know, like he didn't look good. These players need time to develop. When Matt Nagy does such a disservice of throwing Justin Fields out against this defense of the Cleveland Browns, unprepared and not ready to go, that could hurt a quarterback. You know what I mean? So what you got to worry about here is like, am I worried? Are any of these quarterbacks broken yet? I'm not there yet. So I think they're all buys. I'm buying Justin Fields if I can. I'm buying Zach Wilson if I can. Good luck buying Trevor Lawrence. But if there's any dip on Trevor Lawrence right now in Superflex, like I'm buying. Like all of a sudden, if I can get Trevor Lawrence,
you're not buying Mac Jones though, right? Or are you?
In a Superflex league, if I can get him for a first and just a first.
See, I don't even know if I would, just because I don't see what I talked about a couple weeks on the Nerd Herd show. There's just no ceiling there.
Where's the upside? Yeah.
The upside comes if they add more pass weapons. Like right now, this is the chicken before the egg kind of thing. Like, what are they going to put around him? You know what I mean, can they build now? They've never been able to draft receivers, but what if they can put weapons around him? That's my question. That's it. Maybe it'll be okay.
I mean, they've got 2 tight ends. I think that they went out and basically bought here in free agency. Jonnu Smith.
Got no money.
Jonnu Smith's not really looking all that great.
He is not.
And Hunter Henry's
fine.
Hunter Henry's just a.
Okay, I'm not buying Mac Jones.
So I mean, they went
But for
out
a
and
late
spent
first,
for that.
I don't
listen,
know.
I'll take a young quarterback that offers upside for a late first in any Superflex league all day.
Yeah.
All day.
Superflex.
But just a first, nothing else.
If it's literally pick like 11, 12, and it's in the 22 class, because I don't want to give up one in the 23 class, maybe I would consider it. But that's the thing. Like
He's a slow burn type of guy for sure.
he is.
Okay. Well, that's it. That's our show. Make sure you check us out on YouTube if you want to. Make sure you check out dynastynerds.com. Because remember, it's never too early to get ahead of that rookie class, and we are updating the Dynasty Nerds film room. We're doing it. We're updating our rookie ranks. We're getting new stuff out there. Pretty soon, you're going to be able to do mock drafts, rookie mock drafts, and a mock draft tool on any app store. Make sure you download that because you're going to be getting some rookie drafts in there.
That's going to be fun. Getting that ADP, this early stuff. That'll be awesome. That'd be awesome, man.
If you want to see me shake my finger vigorously at Garrett Price, check out our YouTube channel. We got stuff on there. Make sure you like and subscribe. And then, of course, if you enjoy the show, just leave us a rating review on iTunes. And join the Nerd Herd, too, if you're there. While you're not. I mean, because we've got a lot of good stuff there.
We do.
Yeah, innovative. Until then, we'll be back next week. Unless you're a Nerd Herd member, because we got another show coming with some buys and some sells. See you next week.
Adios.